Oh, I like it. Some subtitles. Oh. That's okay. Hello.
Toyota Nation's longest lasting brand. When you click to view the largest selection of Toyota inventory, you may very well see one of the shortest.
Hello. How's everyone doing? So coming live sometimes is just like
No one knows the secret.
All right. So today I was hoping to have just a quick synopsis on discussion on immigration. Hey, share the live with others that you might think might be interested in it. So we're going to talk about immigration. Immigration is something that's really near and dear to my heart, something that obviously as an immigrant to the United States from Somalia, I am, particularly intimate with, and it's something that is worth discussing. So that's something that we're going to discuss today. It impacts a lot of people, and it's just a topic that's just really, really important. So welcome, everybody. I'm really glad that you're here. So it's Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern time zone, because that's my time zone. Yours might be different, but 3 p.m. Eastern time zone. And some people that watch me are in East Africa. So, and I always include the East Africa, which is like 10 p.m. East African time zone. So really glad. Hey, say hi. Come on, say hi in the comments and let me know who is in the house today. Immigration is one of these things that we are all kind of familiar with, especially us that are immigrants ourselves. So it's something that we have experience with, and but we have varying experiences of immigration. So sometimes I would say for myself, coming to the United States, I came here as a child. So my experience is a little bit different than some people, right? So there are some people who also came here as children, but still don't have the same experience as I do. So it's something that has like varied experiences for different people, for a multitude of people. Do you personally have an experience with immigration? What is your experience with immigration? Share your experience with immigration. So I came to the United States when I was 12 years old. This is, more or less the country that I identify with. A lot of my, formative years of, growth and development occurred here, right? I came of age here. I went to school here. I went to college here. So a lot of like my experiences are here in the United States. And people are connected to the environments that they grow up in. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this is in part due to the attempt on the Trump administration to rescind like student visas in the middle of a pandemic. And you know how awful that is, one, but like how on shaky grounds, like people generally speaking are when you are an immigrant to a new country, right? There's a lot of experiences that come with that. It is scary in many ways, starting over somewhere else. There are also people who have been here who are undocumented, but this is all they know. So another thing that I wanted to discuss today was also deferred action for childhood arrivals, right? For children of migrants who immigrated to the United States under different circumstances or what would legally be constituted as unlawful entry. But on that same lens, they are children who obviously have who don't have that autonomy to decide for themselves where they will go, where they will not go. And here they find themselves in a country and they're undocumented. And they grow up here thinking, that, they're American just as much as the next American kid. And then surprise, they grow up and realize that they're undocumented and many avenues in life are closed off to them. So that's something also that, we need to discuss. And that's something that's just really important in our society as well. So yeah, invite your friends. Let me know who's in the house. This is one of my favorite songs. Okay. Who is Mohammed Sheikh Haji? How are you? Welcome, welcome. Really glad that you're here. Happy to see you. How are you today? Okay, so we also have a guest coming up with us soon who's going to talk to us about his particular experience in immigrating to the United States as a student and who's currently studying in the United States. So people's experiences, again, are varied. So we're going to also talk to him about his experience. One of the things that in terms of immigration that I think about a lot is how kind of natural it is to migrate and how this is really big in the human experience and something that human beings have been doing for many, many, many years. Many years. So archaeologists and anthropologists kind of differ on the exact time frame or exact numbers, but humans migrated from Africa some 80,000 to 60,000 years ago. And since then, people have always migrated to different environments for, particular reasons. So what are some of the reasons, do you think, that people migrate from where they live? And that is where, their, let's say, ancestors live and they have generations of history in there. What are some of the reasons that people migrate to another area? It's a really difficult thing to do. And sometimes people do it out of necessity. So some of the necessity that caused myself, and my family to immigrate to the United States is because of the instability in the Civil War in my home country. And the instability that was going on during that time, it made it very difficult to live a normal life, so to speak. Nonetheless, it was difficult for my parents to leave a place that was their home, where they grew up, where they had all their memories. And it was like I think the closest description that many people feel, many people use, is like being kind of like a fish out of water. You leave your environment and you have to adjust and adapt to a new environment, which is really difficult. But a lot of people leave out of necessity. There's this Warshan Shira quote that I really like, and she had used that. I saw it actually during what was it? There was a lot of migration from like Northern Africa to Europe, and there were a lot of migrants dying in the seas over there. And something that she said really stuck to me. She said, when home is so unsafe, or when home is less safe than the mouth of a shark, right? People who migrate do so out of necessity. Not so much because, they want to leave home so badly, which kind of takes me to the next point. So what kind of things would you consider if you were to move to another country? What are some things that you would think about? What are some challenges that you would have ahead of time? What are some things that you would like to, I guess, set yourself up for success, right? Because you're going into a new environment, you're starting over. And, some people have I hate using this term, really, luxury, right? But some people have that luxury of being able to prepare. And some people are pushed out of their environments or their countries, due to instability, due to violence, that they don't really have a lot of times to prepare. So what are some things that, you think that, what kind of issues would you need to consider? Right now, in my 30s, after living in the United States for over 2 decades, it would be just so difficult for me to start over somewhere else. I'm used to my environment. You get used to settling. You just get used to settling. If I were to move to another country, would I have to learn a new language? What kind of legal documents would I have to obtain to be able to live and work in that country? I would have to establish like new community, friends, and people that I have shared interests with. I would have to be able to find a job. There's just so many things. I would have to find somewhere to live. I would have to figure out how to get around. So people who immigrate and migrate to different areas, they don't really do it because it is so easy. Right? People don't do that because it's so easy. There's a lot of adjustment ahead of time. Well, there's like a lot of thought of the adjustment ahead of time, and then there is the actual adjustment. All right. Let me see right here. I am going to bring on a guest to talk to us about his journey in immigration. So everybody has a story, and everybody's immigration journey is different. So we're going to bring out a guest who's going to talk to us about his journey in immigrating to the United States as a student. All right, well, let's see. I'm gonna wait for him to come on in a little bit. That's another favorite song of mine. Hi, Asma. How are you? Setahai, how's it going? Do you have an experience with immigration? Yes, it is alive. It is. It is. I'm reading your comment live and responding to it live. Oh, hi. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Thanks. Thank you, Asma. Oh, okay.
Okay, now I think
Yeah, I think I can hear you now. Okay, sorry about that. I couldn't hear you. Okay, hi.
now I can hear you.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm okay. Talking to everybody about immigration. Well, migration, immigration, and immigration, all different things, right? So, like,
Yes.
whereas people have always migrated, they controlling of who enters specific man-made borders is a more like recent phenomenon. So, introduce yourself.
Oh, my name is Hassan Ibrahim Hassan. I'm an international student in Boston. I'm from Nairobi, Kenya. And I've been here for about close to a year, about 10, 11 months.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hassan, and welcome. Thank you for agreeing to do this today with me. Really appreciate it. So everybody has like a different story in terms of immigration or migration. And your particular story was one that I was interested in our audience learning more about. So how did you decide to, how did you choose your university and decide to come to the United States to study? How did that go?
So in around 2018, coming to 2019, just 2018, around September, October, I was working with an NGO in Nairobi, and then my contract ran out. So I was thinking, what am I going to do next? And then I started to think about applying to do a postgraduate degree abroad. And then I looked at different countries. I looked at Germany. I looked at Norway, Canada, America. And all of this come with different regulations, stipulations, different requirements.
True.
So the two that fit for me because of language was the United States and Canada. So I came down to select, knew exactly what I wanted to do, because it's something to do with design thinking in the media. It's a very different, it's a new field that is coming up. So already I had known what I wanted to do. So I just narrowed it down to which universities offer these courses.
Okay.
So I applied, and the good thing is I applied early. So I was in line to get a scholarship because of the early application.
Congratulations.
And this is what I always advise. Yeah, thank you. This is what I always advise people, is that when you put in your application very early, it helps you also get all these fellowships, all these scholarships.
That's something definitely that we need to know, especially so many of us are first generation college students. Like, there's so many things that we don't know about the process.
Yeah.
So thank you for saying that.
Yeah. And so when I applied the first time, it was around October, November.
Yeah.
Because I was an early applicant already, I was in the pool that was being considered for the scholarship. And in March, April 2019, I got the response that I had been selected to join this program.
Okay.
And yeah, so the process began of, getting all the documents ready to come to the US.
Awesome. And then were there like any obstacles that you ran into as you were applying or in, your journey towards here?
I would say, Ifra, one of the biggest obstacles that it didn't really happen to me per se, but I've seen it happen to a lot of people, is that there's that section where they want somebody to write a letter of reference to
Okay.
you. And I have noted a lot of young Somali guys or ladies who want to come to study in the US, they do not have reliable mentors that can write for them letters of reference because
Oh, wow.
either they don't have people they look up to, or either they don't have the network. So Alhamdulillah, I had people who could write for me that letter, but those letters are very important because they speak of your character.
No, that's truly important.
Yeah, they speak of you as a person throughout what you've been doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was an obstacle I saw from people. But my main obstacle was basically because it doesn't matter whether you have a scholarship or not in America, you need to produce something called a bank statement. And for me, that was the biggest thing because the requirement was around 69,000 US dollars just to show.
Wow. So wow, that changes the entire that changes everything.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So the good thing is I had to look for somebody who had that amount of money in his bank account to actually give it to me. So it took a lot of convincing because people do not want to reveal their bank details.
Right. What if you run off with it?
Yeah. So it took a lot of that to convince. That was the biggest obstacle I faced. So like everything else was okay.
Huge. Yeah. Wow. Now I can imagine that money could be, and money is like a gatekeeper for, so many things, right? So, wow. So that was my next question was like, what were the specific requirements you had to meet? So you had to have a letter of recommendation. So from somebody that knew you professionally.
Professionally, yeah.
And you had to get, that big amount of money.
Yeah.
Were there any other requirements that you had to meet to get your visa?
So compared to the European process of studying abroad, the American system is very straightforward.
Okay.
The moment you apply, it's like the US government immigration, US citizenship and immigration has put a lot of faith in the universities that they do background checks on their students. They basically, it's universities that vet who they issue. So there's this letter that is called an I-20. An I-20 basically is like an admission letter saying you've qualified, you've fulfilled the requirements, you've applied on time, you've submitted all the requirements, you've gotten an admission letter, you've shown proof of funds, and then they issue you the I-20. The I-20 has the course that you're going to study, who is paying for the education, and how long is the course. That is what you go with to the US embassy. And because the system is set up in a way that the universities have already done all this to prove that you're really coming to study.
Yeah. So it doesn't require a lot of legwork from your part.
Yes. So once you get the admission, all you have to produce is the bank statement to the school so that they give you the I-20. The I-20 is a document that legally allows you to stay in the US as a student.
Okay.
So that is what you go with to the US embassy, and then they just have to confirm, like, how do you know about this college, who is going to sponsor you, and that, those are the questions. But the big amount of work that you have to do comes from the university. Just getting the I-20. Getting the I-20 is like 70% of the work.
Okay. Wow, that's a big deal. And then do you have like a time frame where you have to finish your education and get all of your requirements and leave by?
So my program was about, it's a 12-month program. And because it's a STEM program, it's technology, design, and media. After graduation, we have this thing that the US government has for international students, OPT. It's called like optical training option, where once you've graduated in an American university, you have, depending on the course, if you're doing arts and the humanities, you have 12 months to look for work in the United States. So you apply to get a document called the Employment Authorization Card. You once you get that document allows you to work full-time in the US for 1 year.
Okay.
And that is for the arts and humanities. But because I do a course that is has been recognized as a STEM, I have 3 years. So you do the first 12 months, and then you get an employer after the 12 months that can give you a job. Now you have an extra 2 years. So in total, I have 3 years in the US that I can work legally at any time.
Okay, that's actually really good. So how did before it was rescinded, how did the decision by the current administration to, in effect, kick out, international students amidst a global pandemic, what kind of feelings did that elicit within you, and how would that have affected you immediately?
So for me personally, it wouldn't have affected me because I am graduating in August. I'm defending my thesis in August. So
awesome.
In September, I do not have classes in the fall.
Okay. But
for other friends of mine that were doing 2-year courses, is that it would have forced some of them to come back to class. And in the time of COVID, we have most of our professors are people like in their 50s.
Yeah, that's very risky.
So you're trying to bring young people who, some of them may be asymptomatic carriers to classes where, and American university classes are very small. Some of them, like at Emerson, where it's only 10 people in a small room.
Yeah.
So that was the danger, is that most of the students, unfortunately, would have had to go back home. And online learning in a place, I mean, you could have the best internet, but the time zone, sometimes the internet, or there's no power. Like if I went back to Kenya, sometimes there's no power.
And you would have to spend money to go and then spend money to come back.
Yeah.
As a student, and I know as a former student, that students just don't typically have a lot of money.
And most of us had booked tickets, air tickets for next year. So trying to get that funds to book this year, and then with the COVID-19, most of us do jobs in the event industry to support the income that we pay with our bills, and because of COVID, everything has gone. So you find yourself, first of all, you're being told to leave the US, but one, your ticket is set for 12 months from now.
Yeah,
you do not have the funds. 3, you haven't even started applying for your OPT program. So it was a huge mess because it was close to 1 million students didn't know exactly what they were going to do.
They were in limbo.
Yeah.
It reminds me another group that is kind of in a limbo, and I was just mentioning that earlier, was undocumented children that came to the United States with their undocumented parents, and that basically grew up in the United States, believed themselves to be American as the next American, went to elementary, middle, high school, etc., and then are in this legal limbo, right? And it's just a very uncomfortable situation to be in.
Yeah, it's very, I mean, we have some of my classmates are DACA recipients. So these are people who came here when they were kids, and they more or less, the program allows them to study and apply for federal funds, but all these are becoming very restricted under this current administration. So you get that, and then you get the whole idea of kicking out international students. And if I'll tell you, the population of Boston in itself is an education hub in the Northeast, and it has close to 300,000 international students who rent houses, who buy from local supermarkets, who do everything here. So you can imagine 300,000 international students were to be kicked out.
That's a lot. And there's so much talk about, doing what's right for the economy, and that wouldn't even be right for the economy at all. Having all of, that many people leave.
Yeah, and the thing is, this has already impacted some of us, because I'm in a group of other students from Emerson, and we have Chinese students who have left America en masse since COVID-19 started. Because one, you have the political situation where China is blamed for the virus, and then two, some of these students just feel safe back at home, you know, and I have
Yeah.
classmates who don't even feel confident enough to come back.
And that's really sad, right? And there was an opportunity for, real leadership. But unfortunately, there's a lot of xenophobia and division.
There's a lot of that, yeah, and this is also so in my class I had about 7 Chinese students, and before COVID we had planned that we will apply at the same time for the OPT program so that we can get the extension for 3 years and look for jobs. But unfortunately, all 7 of them now, I talk to them, hey, are you still applying? They're like, no, I don't want to stay in the US because, this is not what I came for. I am afraid walking down the street. I don't know what's going to happen next. Who is going to, blame how I look like and where I come from for everything that's happened to them. So this also coincides exactly with, if you look at how Black Lives Matter protest is continuing in America, is that you have these people that never felt they never felt that they could through what African Americans felt in America, and we tell them, you see, this is just a little of what people go through that are Black in this country.
Yeah. And in terms of immigration, like before, doing this today, I was like, researching a lot of immigration, and other than what I personally experienced, like through my own process, right? So I'm looking through the waves of immigration in the United States, and there's like all of these exclusions, right? And you can't help but think as a Black person that this entire time, African Americans were already excluded from like any citizenship advantages or any like citizenship status, and it's not as though it was that after emancipation, it was like the United States government just didn't have a plan for its African American residents. It didn't consider them citizens. So as I'm like looking at all of the waves of immigration, looking at like all the people who were excluded, up until like the Civil Rights Act, there wasn't really that like recognition that African American people were rightful citizens of the United States, right? And here are other people still being able to come, and mostly white, and still being able to come and enjoy privileges of citizenship to the United States. And it's just very interesting to like study that history. I can't imagine living through that history, but like experiencing that.
I'll tell you for a fact is that when you look at even as international students in the US, is that there is different classes on how people are treated. Like you look at students from international students from Europe, they apply for jobs and they get jobs and they get change of status very quickly. Like I have a friend of mine from Spain who was doing the same program with me. He already has a job and he already is in the process of changing his status. That is not the same for me with an African passport. It takes a longer process for me to actually satisfy the bureaucratic process that I have a legitimate job offer compared to him. But look, we are all international students, but the rules just don't apply the same.
Yeah. No, I can totally see that. Naima is on here on the questions comment section. How does this affect the mental well-being of students? So everything that's going on amidst the global pandemic, and the government trying to basically kick out international students if there's no in-class sessions or in-person classes. How does this? Are there any reports, or have students spoken out about how this affects their mental health and emotional well-being?
I mean, if I can't even tell you how many people that I know from Amazon, from my program, who one way or another who have been affected mentally. Like I said earlier before, is that when you come to the US, America is a very expensive country. You come to a city like Boston, it's, the rents are high, living standards is high. Now imagine for international students with no financial aid from the government, and then you cannot work for the past 4 months. So one of the reported cases of mental health breakdown came from an international student from Ghana who was at Emerson, and because of all the pressure of you're expected to pay your rent, you're expected to eat, you're expected to continue living life like it used to be, but you have no way of making your income. So this student had a breakdown, and we had to get Emerson involved, and offer counseling and offer some kind of stipend to him. So this is already happening, and this is also happening to even American citizens who are students, because now you find that people are cooped in their apartments for long periods of time, and the pressure of working, doing your thesis is still the same.
Yeah.
So in the end, it really affected everybody. Whether mostly international students have been affected so much, because now the jobs that people do, they're no longer there. And we don't get the pandemic unemployment assistance because you're considered a non-resident alien.
Yeah. That's very difficult situation to be in.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll have a way soon out of this pandemic. I as well, like, the universities are being closed, but the K-12 schools may or may not be open, So we have that, we're dealing with that as well.
Yeah, it's a tough
situation for everybody.
It's a tough situation, yeah.
So are you looking to, once you graduate, are you looking to start working then within those 3 years, or do you hope to go back home?
So my whole reason why I came here is because, one, I wanted to get that, the American degree. It's something that is recognized everywhere you go in the world. And then two is to get that experience in working in the corporate sector in America. So I see myself as doing the first 1 year, and if I get further opportunities, probably take the 2-year option.
Okay.
And then after 3 years, then just go back to Nairobi, because I feel like it would be selfish to stay back with all the skills that I've learned here and not go back to Nairobi. And I had this dream of having my own media startup for news media literacy.
Awesome.
So it is one of the things I've written in my thesis. And I hope to go back home and eventually have this startup for media literacy program.
That is really cool. It's very awesome. And I wish you all the success with that. That is a very exciting venture.
Thank you.
Let's see if we have any other questions from the audience, because I feel like you've answered all of my questions. I had a list of questions, and as we're talking, as we're talking, I'm like, oh, answer that question, answer that question, answer that question. Okay. And I've taken so much of your time already. So I just want to thank you, first of all, for agreeing to come talk to me about this. Let's see. Let me just open up and see any other questions for Hassan.
And I just have to say, Fra, like I always encourage everybody, whether you're in Somalia, whether you're in Kenya, whether you're in Ethiopia, if you want to study abroad, do not listen to people who tell you that going to the West is a tough thing. Instead of following what people say, just go online. Look at what you want to study. Let's say you have a bachelor's in education. Look at a master's program in education. Which universities are offering these courses? And I would say, for those people who are watching, is that pick states that are less popular, that are cheap to live in. I wish I knew. If I knew Boston was this expensive, I wouldn't have come here.
I mean, but Emerson,
So
it's a great school.
Yeah, pick a state that that is cheaper to live in, that also has opportunities, and then just apply. Because I've said this many times to all the friends I have back in Nairobi, is that applying to the American university is the easiest thing you can do. You just go online, You fill out the application form. Some universities, once you tell them you're from sub-Saharan Africa, they waive the application fee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you apply, you don't pay anything, and then all you have to do is now submit your documentation. Oh, this is my degree. This is my certified degree. This is an organization that I sent. The organization that I sent my transcript so that they convert it to an American equivalent.
Okay.
So, yeah, they charged me about $200. I mean, this is, you're making an investment for yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
And then once you do that, you apply, you have the reference, and then they will tell you to write an essay or a research proposal of what you want to do when you come for the master's program. This is something, and you know, at the end of the day, this is so, like, I spent in everything, including visa fees and excluding air ticket. I spent about $600, $700 to just do these documents and fill out and pay for this conversion of my degree. I mean, that compared to somebody who tells you that you can pay them $20,000 to bring you to the US. I mean, that is cheaper. And look at $700 compared to $20,000. You know,
right? And you're gaining education.
Yeah, you're getting an education that also gives you an opportunity to apply for these jobs here.
Yeah.
So this process is very streamlined. This process it's not difficult. It's easy to get to apply. And some of these universities even encourage students from abroad to apply because they want that diversity.
Yeah. I imagine so.
Yeah, and just writing them an email and saying, hey, I come from Kenya, I come from Somalia. Do you have, you know, scholarships that I can use or fellowship that I can get? And some of them will give you links. They would encourage you to apply, and I believe this is the way to go forward.
So bottom line is put in that application, and what's the worst that can happen?
What's the worst that can happen?
Right. What about the obstacles of like having that money to have your degree converted to American equivalent? Some people, that could be a huge obstacle. So is that a service that the college you're applying to offers?
No. So this is when you apply for these programs, they will tell you to send your degree to an international education evaluator. I mean, yeah. So this is one of the requirements that you have to convert. They would admit you, but you won't attend classes until your degree is converted to the American. I mean, this is the system of being a superpower that, you know, we don't care where you study, but you have to convert it so that we know where
that it's up to our level.
Yes, so that you see if it is up to our level. So I understand some people don't have the amount that of $200 or maybe $250, but it's an investment you're putting because you're coming here to get even bigger opportunities than that 200 can afford you. Let's say if you're in Kenya. So one of those things where if you decide to invest, take that opportunity and invest in it. The $200, I personally, the $700 or the $900 I spent plus air ticket, $1,000, I feel like I've gained more than even what I spent that time. It seemed like it was close to $2,000. That was a lot of money. You know? But looking back now, I have more opportunities. I have interacted with a lot of people from Harvard University, from MIT. I'm making a network. I'm building a network. And that this is something that is very invaluable, you know. So I say,
you can't put price on.
Yeah, so I say 200 might be reach out to your relatives. I mean, if somebody reached out to you, to me, and said, hey, I want to study in America, but I don't have this amount of money that they require for me to convert my degree, I'll be like, I'll pay for you.
Yes, I definitely support education.
Yeah, I'll pay for you. So these are things that people cannot turn you down. Even if you
it's a very, like, you know, that's something that people love to support, like, you know, help somebody help themselves.
Exactly.
I think that's a big deal. Thank you so much for your time today. I think there was like one person, Naima said, what made Hassan go and study in the US? Why not another country? And I think you kind of answered that. It was the process was more better.
I can say why I chose the United States. So my choices were three when I was applying for these programs. One is I applied to the US, to Canada, and I was looking for a place where they would give me at least a maximum 70% scholarship. I did have the money to pay for this degree.
Okay.
Two, I also looked at the language and the culture, and also, it's easier for me to transition into the US or Canada compared to Germany. And so the reason why I applied to the US is because, one, of that English language, two, the university offered me this funding, and three, it's easier to just transition here. When you come from Kenya and you come to the US, I mean, you'd have a difference in accent and all that, but it's the same
You still
thing. Like, English
understand.
is where it's spoken,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's easier to transition.
It is definitely. And that's one of the things I was talking about earlier. When people migrate or immigrate, it is one of those things that they have to think about, like, how am I going to adjust to to my new environment? So what was one of the things that was so difficult for you to adjust to coming from Kenya to the United States? What are some things that were like hard to adjust to?
I can't hear.
Oh no, you can't hear me? Okay. All right, can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you.
Wow. Okay, you lead the show. I'm going to text you.
So I don't know if I can. I don't know if they can still hear me, but yeah, the most I don't know, the most challenging adjustment for me was the weather. I come from the tropical climate. I come from Kenya, and when I landed in Boston in September, and then September, and then October, and then winter set in. So number one, I had never experienced this cold in my life, never ever before. So it was really tough going through December, November, December, January, and February were the worst month. I mean, people tell me that this was the nicest winter they've ever experienced in the Northeast, which is known to have very brutal winters. But for me, it was too cold. I had to buy like huge jacket and gloves, and have like something around my neck, a scarf, all the time when you leave the house, all the time. So I would look outside the house, and then I would see the sun shine, and then I'll be like, oh, this is very nice. Today I don't need a jacket. But when you step out, the sunshine and the weather has no correlation. Like, it could be shining out there, but the way it was cold, I started questioning myself why I came to such a cold place. And another thing too is the system the system of teaching was very different. When I left Kenya, the professor would come in class and he would dictate notes, you would copy notes, and then you would sit for an exam. But when I came here, everything was different. The professor would come in class, and then it would be a discussion. He would give you a passage of a text, you read, you write your response, and then that was it. You stand in class, and then you defend your points. So that was a big difference for me. Like, I was used to, first day I went to class, I had my notebook, and I was waiting to take notes, and then I realized there was no note taking. So that was another shocker. Another adjustment too was another adjustment I had was how things work smoothly. Like, I applied for my social security ID number on Monday, and by Friday they had already sent me a text saying they sent me the letter was on its way to my post office. Ordering something online takes you maybe 2 days, 3 days. This is something I experienced with Amazon. I had so got used to ordering something in Jumia in Nairobi and getting it after 3 weeks or maybe a month. That was something that shocked me. I was like, I just ordered it about 4 days ago or 3 days ago. It's already here. applying for things to government offices was so fast. Like I would get responses immediately, or somebody would call me to ask about if I had received this document, or if I had, uh, had been attended to. So this was a kind of adjustment coming from a place where you get used to government bureaucracies, working so slowly, and then you come to a place where everything just works fast enough, and there was no difference. I'm an international student, but I still got the same services that citizens got.
I don't know if I can be here.
I can't hear you, but yeah, I think I've answered the questions, right?
I think so. You have. Okay. Let's see. How about that?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for the questions, and thank you, Ifra, for the show.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Can you guys hear me? I guess after talking for so long, my computer was like, you've been talking for too much, and I don't know. I need somebody to confirm that I'm still like being heard. Because all I want to say is have a good day. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it. All right. Thank you, guys. Oh, awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Hassan. Thank you, Yusuf. I appreciate it. I don't know why Hassan and I couldn't hear each other. But anyways, that was it for today. I really appreciate everybody being here. Thank you and have a good day. I hope, that conversation was beneficial to everybody. It was very beneficial to me. I learned a lot more. And, I hope to bring more conversations for you here every Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern time zone, 10 p.m. East African time zone, and then, in between, depending on where you are. Thank you so much. Ugas for they were leaving now. All right. Have a good one. Have a good one. Thank you very much.